And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather Show. Solar uptick continues mainly because of that area right over there. I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, coming at you from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Massive solar uptick continues, folks. That is a 24-hour video from SDO starting out with some sweet close-ups of a massive series of sunspots in the northeastern limb. Also a coronal hole there, rotating past our Earth scale. So huge solar uptick going on here. Radio flex all the way up above 170. It's a flux flex. Lots of filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk and a few coronal holes of note as well. Also some new sunspots forming in the now southwestern quadrant of the closest star. Plenty to cover today, so let's get to it, shall we? Before we do that, take a moment to press the like button. And if you're looking for additional content, maybe go subscribe over at the Smash Team, smashomash.com/Smash Team. There's a bronze level. There's a silver level. There's a gold level. There's even a gold annual paid-up subscription. So again, if you want additional content, that's where to get it. smashomash.com/Smash Team. Here are some paid endorsements. Do the math. And here's the work. 8 = capital D. You can use that one yourself on social media. I'm sure you'll find it useful to do the math and hopefully not suck at it. So there's the equation. Again, it's 8 = capital D. And look at the massive savings site-wide at Redbubble. Links below the video to the Redbubble shop. And we encourage you to do something right by doing it yourself and doing the math while not sucking at it. Again, links below the video. You can also find them on the homepage at smashomash.com. Here comes some more paid endorsements. Like this one. The electromagnetic radiation reflecting bucket hat. You can pick that up at smashomash.com by clicking on the Amazon link. You'll find an Amazon link right there on our homepage. It'll take you to amazon.com/shop/smashomash. If you'd like your bucket hat to reflect electromagnetic radiation, you can pick up one there, 20% off there, down to $12 for the space hat. If you're spaced out enough, you may want a chrome hat, not to be confused with a tinfoil hat that doesn't reflect jack. Ours reflects electromagnetic radiation. So pick one up and help the channel out that way. You can also help the channel out via hemp. Lucid, that is. And don't forget to enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 to save as many percent on your checkout. SMASHOMASH10 is the promo code to use to save 10%. So check out that link also below this video. Save a bundle and a boatload with some Hemp Lucid products. SMASHOMASH10 for the third time is the promo code. Links below the video and on the homepage, smashomash.com. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Press the like button if you're unable or unwilling to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet and support the channel via financial support. Smashomash.com is the homepage. We launched a massive web ring back in 2019 to benefit people like you and battle the pathetic, ridiculous, putrid, un-American, fascistic censorship on the internet. Anyway, next talking about volcanoes, and the one to talk about is certainly on the Reykjanes Peninsula. So as the ground uplifts and the magma starts to calm down, it's eventually going to break through the surface, folks. So large eruption there likely happening in western Iceland, southwestern Iceland there. So there's the location likely to see a rift open up. Could be a new era of volcanic activity on the Reykjanes Peninsula. So there's the most recent uplift map. I think that's the most recent one. And indeed it is. So there is the now forming volcanic caldera on the island nation of Iceland. No new magma becoming lava anytime recently. So remember, folks, magma becomes lava when it gets to the surface. So if you're in a cave and you see molten rock, it's magma. If you're on the surface and you see molten rock, it's lava. That's literally the difference. And let's move on to earthquakes. So these are the quakes of a 5 and greater magnitude over the past 24 hours. There are the past 90 days, as reported once again by volcanodiscovery.com. And these are the quakes reported by USGS. First 5 or greater magnitude quake was a 5.5 in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. That was at 5:10 Universal Time this morning on November 21st. Followed by 2 hours later, a 5.5 at Papua New Guinea. And then only 2 minutes later, a 5.3 at Indonesia. So perhaps some foreshocks happening there. Remember, folks, any earthquake can be a foreshock. Next 5 or greater magnitude quake was at Fiji. So once again in the southwestern Pacific. That 5.1 was at 15:32 Universal Time. And then after that, we saw a 5.0 at Papua New Guinea. So that's the major earthquake zone there, the southwestern Pacific. And let's get back to space here. We'll talk coronal holes in greater detail momentarily. There in the past 24 hours from SDO. And the 10.7 centimeter radio flux is now all the way up to 172 solar flux units. 172, folks, is the current 10.7 centimeter radio flux. A big uptick since yesterday. And there is the 1-year graph. It doesn't even reflect the full uptick. It's actually way up here. So there's the new radio flux all the way up to 171 solar flux units. And whoops, it doesn't show on that imagery. So there's the full view. Radio flux now up to 172. Big uptick there in the radio emissions of the closest star. Next, Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, expecting some more geomagnetic unrest tonight. So not exactly sure what that is. It doesn't even say in the forecast. It just says KP 3.67 expected tonight. So there you go. I don't know. That's what NOAA's forecasting. And here are the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. And let's switch that up to show a full screen view, shall we? So we did just recently see a little uptick in activity here. So we'll get to that in a minute. After we show our geospace magnetosphere movie for the past 4 hours. We do have a significant likelihood of aurora happening right now. So if you think the aurora might be visible where you are, perhaps pause the video and go out and check it out. Take some video and photography of it, as the aurora are mostly in ultraviolet light. So here are the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, showing magnetic flux density, and again, significant aurora here likely on various parts of the Earth. One of the other ways that you could check it out would be by using the geoelectric field map. That is for our North American and Canadian viewers, especially US and Canada, as the aurora can arrive and vanish as quickly as it showed up. So don't miss it. Make sure you get some video footage, perhaps, or some photographs. Next, KP index. KP index is currently at slightly elevated here at KP3. So it looks like NOAA might have been right on point with that forecast. And here's the real-time solar wind from ACE, one of 2 spacecraft that we typically show on the channel. Solar wind density here just under 10 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind velocity 430 kilometers per second. And at Discover, a little bit of a different story there. Solar wind density here at 17 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 415 kilometers per second. So it looked like geomagnetic unrest was coming, but the magnetic field has moved into positive territory and then back into negative territory. So not super conducive for a geomagnetic storm here at the moment. Could be the prelude to a high-speed coronal hole wind stream. That's what it looks like we might be seeing here. So if we see the solar wind density drop off and the solar wind speed come up at the same time, that is the telltale signature of a coronal hole high-speed stream. Next are ghost magnetometers here. And Earth has moved into another sector here in the past several hours. Those are the past 3 days by the ghost magnetometer, measuring Earth's magnetic field in the outer portion of the outer Van Allen belt. And here are the top view ecliptic plane field plot data. So this is always a good one to show. You will see Earth snapping into a North Pole current sheet right there at the end of the video. Just in the past, probably about 6 hours or something like that. Keep in mind that data was already 1 hour and 21 minutes old when we created this video. Always pay attention to the time and date stamps when they are on the data. So there's the current image. Again, Earth in a North Pole sector now, shown there in green. Next, our line of sight field plot. Solar B field depicted in blue, north and south polar fields in green and red respectively, and the photosphere grayscale imagery depicts the photosphere magnetism. And it would be white for north and green for south. That's the photosphere magnetism. The solar B field and the coronal magnetism all at once, from a line of sight perspective. Next, our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. Again, snapping into a North Pole. Snapping into a North Pole sector here just in the past few hours, probably about 5 hours ago, I suspect. And that brings us back to coronal holes. I think I mentioned them earlier. Here's our line of sight coronal hole plot. And there's the latest image. So we've got flipped poles here at the moment. Up here we have south, and down here we have north. So that's what's going on at the moment. And here's a little closer view. It looks like we have an active region just south of that, in the southern portion of that coronal hole there, the one in the northeast. So we did have a great coronal hole during this solar cycle that did actually have a sunspot in the center of it. That was pretty interesting. And maybe we'll have to make a video just about that. But let's get to some more space weather stats here. The sunspot number has now exceeded 150. So it's something like 162, it looks like. So here is the sunspot number. So a rapid increase in the sunspot number, mainly from that sunspot in the northeast. Here's our flare probability monitor and solar flare scoreboard. Most likely place for a large solar flare remains in the northeastern quadrant. Moving right along, here come sunspots from the SDO's perspective. So, another significant increase here in the past 24 hours. You can expect sunspot number here to be approaching 200 coming tomorrow. So lots of new sunspots that are not yet on the list about to get added. Something like, let's see, if we're at 170, I think we're going to be at about 220. I'll say 210. We'll be at 210 sunspots by Thanksgiving. Yeah, 210 sunspots by Thanksgiving. So there is the magnetogram. And let's move to energetic particles and solar flares. Proton flux remains flatlined, no spikes. The GOES proton flux is chill. The X-ray background flux has now gone up to about, I would say it's probably something like a C2 background flux. So big time uptick, and it looks like it's going even higher here. So background flux for the X-ray flux to continue. Don't be surprised to see M or even X-class solar flares, especially likely in the northeastern limb. And here comes some flare wavelengths for you, 94 plus 131 angstroms. There's an equatorial view for you. And once again, that is the most likely place to see a large solar flare in the coming 24 hours. Lots of magnetic complexity there, a leading coronal hole, and some large plasma filaments hanging around, both to its south and to its northwest. So lots of stuff happening for sure. And before we get to coronal mass ejections, let's take a brief moment to chill out here for a minute and take a look at what's going on overhead. That's what's happening over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. You've got the moon and Saturn up there, also Jupiter. In the early evening sky, just press the Now button at skyandtelescope.org if you want to figure out what's going on. Once you've put in your location or zip code, you press Now, and then you'll have your sky overhead. And remember, folks, the Big Dipper points right at Polaris. See those two stars? Those two stars in the end of the Big Dipper, they point right at Polaris. So this is the Big Dipper. And the two stars where the liquid would be spilling out of the Big Dipper, they point right at the North Star. If you didn't know that, well, congratulations. Continuing on to our solar system forecast, we'll show you where things are today. Ta-da! And here's where things will be in 1 week. Ta-da! We'll also move on to coronal mass ejections, but first, the astronomy photo of the day. First, the Veil Nebula, part of the Cygnus Loop. And it is quite spectacular. By the way, this shows ionized hydrogen in red and ionized oxygen in blue. So the Veil Nebula, it's about the size of 6 full moons. It's just kind of dim, not very readily visible with the naked eye, but a huge part of the Milky Way galaxy. Also known as Fleming's Triangular Wisp or something, apod.nasa.gov if you want to read about the Cygnus Loop, and let's move on to coronal mass ejections. So first we'll look at LASCO C2 plus C3. Let's get a little closer look here. We'll let those play all the way through. So there's a big CME out of the east. I don't suspect that has an earthly directed component. But don't take my word for it. We're going to look at some closer views of that. Before we do that, let's look at stereo A's perspective. Stereo A located right here where this red circle is. There's stereo A's raw imagery on the left and the difference imagery on the right. We'll let those play through as well. So there's that CME out of the eastern limb. I see no indication it's likely to be earthly directed. And let's bring that back. There it goes. And here it is on difference imagery. Not too bad. Let's take a look at our custom images. There's a 24-hour video. And no motions on the Earth side of the solar disk, so that is not earthly directed. It is from slightly behind the far side. So you can kind of see that jumping off there. And let's move on to filaments. So there's the filament situation. Quite a few significant filaments there. We've got the George Soros filament is now approaching the western limb. To its east, there is another large filament. By the way, this is the George Soros. George Soros is right here. I don't think we named this one. Did we name that one? This one down here is definitely worthy of a name as well. And maybe that one too. If you want to name filaments, do it over on Twitter, x.com/smashomash. Join us over there. There is the Big Bear Observatory. Hydrogen alpha imagery in grayscale. It shows prominences. And we may see some more active regions there about to rise over the northeast. Check it out. Some big filaments back there becoming prominences, indicating there might be some more sunspots. So, yeah, big uptick in the sunspot number coming, and no surprise as we are not yet at solar maximum. Continuing right along. Hey, thanks to our Twitter followers, I would say to each of you, shut up that mutt. Shut up that mutt. Just say it aloud, and you'll feel like a movie villain. Shut up that mutt. We would have got away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids and that stupid mutt. Shut up that mutt. Join us over there on X. And it's about time to get the bonus features first. The last few hours there from the GOES 18 SUVI. That's what's going on. And let's move to bonus features. First, satellite charging hazards. We've got some surface charging of the significant variety over that's the western Indian Ocean there. Moving into the Middle East there as some low energy electrons are building up on the outside of spacecraft. So that's our, it's over here. There you go. Surface charging hazards there for satellites. GOES electron flux here looking like it's taken a sudden dip. Pretty low levels of electron flux there for noon local time for the GOES 16 and GOES 18. So low levels of electron flux. There is the 1 year graph to contextualize the electron flux. Slightly sub-moderate levels there for the relativistic electrons. And there is the forecast model. NOAA is expecting a big dip coming in the next 48 hours. So that's NOAA's forecast for electron flux. We'll also show the layer where it's measured. And here we go with the Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology imagery. So that's the vibrational frequency of the F layer. Here is the anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. And here is the latest image. That's 2300 universal time ionogram. 2300 universal time ionogram. Anomalygram. Next, the WAM, the total atmosphere model, depicting electron content on the left, maximum usable frequency on the right. The upper pane is the raw data, the lower pane is the anomaly. And at the end of our space weather video, we always show our total electron content forecast. Feel free to pause the video on this frame. There is a count of electrons to about 12,500 miles of altitude, which is about the altitude of your GPS satellite. There you go, and we'll also show anomaly over the US. That's anomaly from the 10-day average, and it looks utterly jacked up. So I don't know what's up with that, but that's what you get. I don't know. I don't see any major anomalies in it, but the data itself is looking a little screwy. Could be caused by communications breakdowns. We'll close out space weather with the latest high-res images. So there's a beta class sunspot. There's a beta gamma class sunspot, maybe even beta gamma delta. Could be beta gamma delta. It's beta gamma delta. And that's just a lot of sunspots, Major uptick as we approach solar maximum. What do you expect? Expect a continued uptick as it's a slightly above moderate level solar cycle, folks. It's a solar cycle that's above average as opposed to below average, which is what a lot of people have been forecasting. So sorry to all of those people who failed at forecasting. It's an above average solar cycle. And by the way, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to press the like button. Press like, otherwise the video cannot continue. So we'll just have to wait here forever for the rest of eternity as your soul is devoured by Stygian algae. So press the like button, otherwise we can't do our meteorology segment. So open the gates to hell. To our meteorology segment by pressing the like button, otherwise we can't continue. Yeah, you. Have you forgotten to press like? What is wrong with you? What kind of a sociopath watches one of our videos on YouTube and doesn't press the like button? Are you some kind of a lunatic? Are you a Nibiru fan? Are you a croissant Earth enthusiast? What is up with you? Press like, otherwise there will be repercussions. Let's talk about repercussions. There are repercussions for being in the ocean, especially in the northern, northwestern Pacific. Why? Because there are nearly 50-foot waves up there. So that's pretty serious. 46-foot waves showing up there in the northwestern Pacific. Yowzers. Yeah, 47-foot waves there showing up. Those are the world's stormiest seas. That map depicts surface winds and significant wave height. So there is no place as stormy as that. Nearly 50 footers, folks. Not every day we get to report on that. And let's move on to show regularly scheduled meteorology. Hey, Eastern viewers from the east side. The east side. These are the surface winds of your lives. These are the jet streams of this side of the planet. These are the jet streams of the central world. How about the surface winds of the central world? We got it. There it is. Surface winds of the west, shown here. Jet streams of the west, shown here. Clouds and fog over the Americas, shown here. We've got some very strong thunderstorms to show over South America. You want a close-up of it? Okay, don't worry, we got it. There you go. Major storms brewing there over the Argentina-Paraguay border. Dag! Those are some high clouds. Spring has sprung and it's bringing with it some major thunderstorms. So there's another view of that from windy.com's fantastic satellite imagery. And if you don't like it, you can go blank your blanking blank right up the blank. Next, our weather.gov map. Weather.gov, the National Weather Service homepage. We've got a bunch of warnings there. If your location is lit, click your location at weather.gov. Those are way too many locations for us to cover, so deal with it. Here comes some forecasts. GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation is first. Snow and rain and things are occurring. Next, total accumulated precipitation. Fortunately, most of the flooding will be occurring in the ocean, so don't worry about getting flooded in the ocean. It's the ocean afterwards. It's also the ocean beforehand. Next, total accumulated precipitation. That's accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. Once again, it's the GFS 72-hour model. And it looks like all that hot air coming out of Colorado is not going to be sufficient to prevent it from being mostly blanketed with snow. Hot air failing in Colorado, despite being very hot and very full of, I think there's methane in that air. Could that be that it's a pile of crap coming out of Colorado? Let us know in the comments what you think. Also, we've got temperature anomaly. That's temperature anomaly in degrees Celsius based on a GFS 72-hour model. We'll also show, how about if I let it play through one more time? Shall I? Yes, I shall. And then show lightning. So there's lightning. We've got some strong lightning there in the what you'd call the eastern Atlantic. And let's check our real-time lightning map from lightningmaps.org. Lightningmaps.org, powered by blitzachtung.org. Mediterranean's got some lightning, Atlantic's got some lightning, and we have some terrestrial strikes in the U.S. What do you got? Columbus, Georgia. There's thunder rolling in. Columbus, Georgia. Dag! It's not Operation Bluebeam, folks. It's thunder and lightning. Forecast thunder strikes by... never mind. Moving right along to close this thing out with U.S. Doppler radar. For the full 50 state, we'll focus on the lower 48. There's vertical motion in the air column from ground-based systems. Here's 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation from space-based system, the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite, and there is water vapor. 6.19 micrometer infrared radiation showing all the water vapor, and here's a recap to close this thing out. U.S. Doppler radar, clouds and fog. And there is water vapor. That should clear things up. If you're confused about the rest of the imagery, hopefully you're not confused about weather from space all the way down to the lower 48. Thanks for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back. I'm going back to the bunker again. All the stupid stuff I heard encouraged me to climb in and dig in. Hurl, hurl.